from sunny London. It's really great to be with you this morning. I'm going to be talking for about 20 minutes about Childnet's work on online pornography. I believe we can share my slides, and then we'll get going with the presentation. Brilliant, thank you. In fact, okay, sorry, tech issues. Okay, I think I've got the hang of it now. We've been doing a lot of work at Childnet over the years to work with young people to think critically about pornography and healthy relationships online. A very quick introduction to what we're going to be talking about today. So I'll very quickly cover a few bits and pieces that we know about young people's experiences of online pornography, and then we'll look at Childnet's work in this area. 3 different pieces of work that we have been developing recently. So just to really quickly give you an introduction to Childnet itself, what we do, we are a children's charity and one of 3 charities that makes up the UK Safer Internet Centre. Youth Voice is at the heart of all we do, and we provide education, advice, guidance, support for young people, teachers and families across the UK. We run lots of education sessions in UK schools, so we're out in schools every day talking to and listening to young people, parents and teachers as well. We coordinate Safer Internet Day in the UK. That's a key part of my role, which now reaches over half of young people aged 8 to 17 in the UK. And we create lots of free teaching and learning resources. So we've heard already about the Polish perspective. Many young people have encountered pornography in Poland. What do we know about young people's experiences of online pornography and relationships online in the UK? So according to recent research, pornography is quite normalised amongst young people. Around 2/3 of teenagers aged 14 to 15 have seen it. And a significant proportion of younger people and younger teenagers come across pornography unintentionally, stumbling across it or being shown it by a peer. Children are also stumbling across violent pornography, and they can be upset or disturbed by it. And there is a tendency for girls to be more impacted or more concerned with aspects of online sexual harassment and online pornography, and particularly that comes to light through research we've done with young people about online sexual harassment. Fundamentally, and most importantly, children believe that pornography could influence sexual behaviour and attitudes towards consent. And this is where the education piece comes in. What we're interested in Childnet is the impact that exposure to pornography can have on young people's perceptions and how they interact with their peers. So our work in this area at the moment is threefold. First of all, we've produced a fantastic toolkit which covers online pornography and other topics as well. We've been running a project called Project D-Shame along with colleagues in Denmark and Hungary, looking at online sexual harassment. And we are just embarking on a new project called Thrive Online, to build resources, support, guidance for young people with special educational needs around exactly these sorts of topics. So first of all, to just look at the PSHE toolkit with you, we've created some great resources for ages 11 to 14 on pornography, healthy relationships and body image. At the centre of these are a series of talking heads, young people whose it's voiced by actors, but based on the real feedback and experiences of young people who we've talked to, reflecting on their experiences of coming across pornography, of their experience of body image online, and really thinking about what their reactions are as a starting point to get young people to critically assess the impact that these aspects can have on them. Just to take you very quickly through how we develop our materials, we always start off with research, talking and listening to young people. Thank you. And For us, I think our research in this area really threw up a clear need for resources that help challenge young people to reflect on online life. Then we develop those resources. We work hard to research and develop those back at Childnet Towers, including developing learning objectives, films, discussion questions and scenarios. We tested these with a number of schools, and feedback from young people after taking part in the new lessons showed a rising confidence in managing healthy relationships online. We make those resources available to all schools in the UK. We signpost to extra support. And then after we developed this toolkit for young people, we went on to thinking about what we could add to it. So first of all, then, our research, which we conducted with 11 to 14-year-olds, 80% of them said it was important or extremely important for young people to discuss issues related to pornography. But only 15% said they knew where to go for reliable information, and a small proportion as well, only 23%, said that they could recognise the difference between the ideal body posted online and the reality of a realistic and healthy body. So while young people think it's important to talk about these issues, they're not necessarily clear about how or where that they can do that. It's not necessarily happening inside or out of school. And the impact of that is that they aren't able to critically assess and analyse the impact that seeing unrealistic bodies or unrealistic experiences of sex and relationships, they're not able to critically analyse the effect that has on them, and sort of realise that there's a difference between the myth and the reality. That's why the toolkit was called Myth or Reality. So just to really quickly take you through, we wanted to make sure that students understood that pornography can show a stereotypical portrayal of relationships, bodies, gender and sex. And for students to discuss and develop strategies for resisting the pressure to view pornography so that they wouldn't feel forced into doing so by their peers or made to feel like they were different because they weren't watching it. And we also wanted them to know where they can go to find reliable information about sex and relationships. So the resources really don't seek to put forward a starting point that watching pornography is somehow not normalised for young people, because we know that it's part of what they will do as they grow up. But it's about understanding its limitations in terms of that stereotypical portrayal of relationships and bodies, and knowing where else you can go to for information. I think we've just about got time for a very quick example of the films that we produced. So if we're able to play one of the quick talking heads, it'll give you a sense of the sorts of stimulus material that young people can use in classrooms to start talking about the impact of pornography and what they think about it.
I don't get why people look at it. But then I guess some people might look at it to figure stuff out. Like my friend Sam, he watches gay porn because he's unsure about his sexuality. Says he can explore anonymously. He's not quite ready to tell other people just yet, so he goes along with the others because he's worried about getting picked on. Thing is, everyone goes along with it, whether they're into it or not, gay or straight. Like the other day, this kid was blatantly showing porn on his phone and didn't even consider for 1 minute that some people might find it embarrassing. Like, not everyone's into looking at that stuff. And I really hate the way some lads at school talk about girls. Like, they genuinely think porn is real. That this is what it's all about and that girls actually like doing that stuff. I find it really insulting. And I don't care that people call me frigid or gay, because I'd rather stand up and speak out than sit there like the others. It's not real. It doesn't represent reality.
Thank you for playing that. That's great. So we hope that those short talking heads, which, like I say, presented by actors, but whose words and script are based on the feedback and conversations that we've had with young people about this issue, help to open up discussions and, by responding to how that young person feels and the point of view that they're putting across, whether young people agree with it or not, it will help open up that discussion. The learning resources also also include scenarios. So I've just put one on the screen as an example. Again, they're a starting point for an open discussion, and teachers can use scenarios and films like this to start that discussion about those strategies for responding to pressure, things like being honest and talking it through and making sure you're comfortable. And it is incredibly important for teachers to be able to open up and create a safe space in which young people do feel comfortable to express their views. But in fact, by thinking about scenarios and by using those talking heads, it's a fantastic way to get young people to talk about things in general, and to be able to respond to how somebody else feels. They don't have to share how they're feeling. They can talk about what somebody else's reaction has been. That says it all, doesn't it? So we piloted with schools, and the vast majority of young people said they now felt more confident in supporting themselves and others with issues related to pornography, and many of them also feel confident in supporting themselves and others with unhealthy relationships online. So we know then that the resources that we're producing have a fantastic impact for young people, and we're able to make changes to those resources before they go live. And then finally, the what's next. I mentioned a few minutes ago that we're just embarking on a project called Thrive Online to build resources, support and tools that can empower young people with special educational needs and disabilities to build happy and healthy online relationships. That's a project supported by Google. We know that young people with special educational needs are often not included in online safety conversations. And we want to ensure that all young people are equipped with the skills, confidence and support to thrive online. We know that young people with SEND often require tailor-made support depending on their experiences, and that there is a need for teachers and families to have guidance to support young people with special educational needs as well. Thrive Online will provide free resources for all of those audiences alongside brand new peer education resources on exactly the same topics as our toolkit. So online pornography, body image and healthy relationships online. And we're really excited to be working with young people with special educational needs and their teachers to develop those resources, including, again, films, lesson plans and guidance. In the few minutes that I've got left with you, I wanted to share another project that we've been working on over the last few years, our D-Shame project, which has been EU funded, and we worked with colleagues in Denmark and Hungary and the UK as well. Project D-Shame is all about tackling peer-based online sexual harassment and sexualised bullying. We worked hard to define online sexual harassment and communicate that to young people and teachers and their parents as well. And we're looking at tackling the barriers that young people face getting help. We're also aiming to increase reporting of online sexual harassment. We know that this is an issue that impacts on a huge number of young people, and particularly in the UK, it's only been getting more prominent over the last year, with campaigns run by young people starting to talk about this issue in schools, and finally feeling like they can share their experiences. So although it's heartening to see young people being able to share about what they've experienced, it does show us that this is an issue that affects an enormous number of young people. So what do young people say on this issue of online sexual harassment? Well, 6% of respondents have had their nude or nearly nude image shared with other people without their permission over the previous year, while 41% have witnessed this happening. and a quarter of young people have had rumours about their sexual behaviour shared online in the past, with over 2/3 saying that girls are judged more harshly for this than boys. Many young people receive unwanted sexual messages, and many young people are really impacted by this, as you can see from the quotes, which I'll give you a couple of secs to read.
I want to tell you, but I feel too scared to say what's happened.
See you this evening.
I want to tell you, but I don't want to let you down.
I want to tell you, but I don't want to interrupt what you're doing.
I want to tell you, but I'm worried you'll stop me going online.
I want to tell you that I've been really hurt by people I know.
I want to tell you something.
This is online sexual harassment.
Would you be there for me?
Step up, speak up, and let's put an end to online sexual harassment. For more information, go to dshame.eu.
So that was a short video there, particularly for parents, to help inform them about the issue of online sexual harassment and to encourage them to support young people and to find out more through the D-Shame project. We tested that with parents, made changes as a result. We always pilot before we send something live, but I must say it's done fantastically well in terms of engaging parents to find out more about this issue. Back to the project, and the project worked hard to define online sexual harassment in 4 different ways, and then created learning tools for young people and support tools for parents to be able to find out more about this issue. We're also looking at the barriers and misconceptions that young people face around online sexual harassment. And we know that young people face multiple barriers in seeking help and support on this. So not wanting to involve their family, thinking that they would be, their school would overreact, or not thinking that it would help to share by somebody they've been bullied online, they've experienced online sexual harassment. And so the project is really working hard to try and overcome those barriers and those misconceptions, and included training and information for police and teachers and social workers to be able to support young people as regards this issue. And with that, I'd really encourage you to have a look at the Childnet website. It's got all of our resources on, all of the films, an international adaptation toolkit for the D-Shame project, and you can find out more about our myth versus reality toolkit, and Thrive Online, and also our toolkit for D-Shame around online sexual harassment. Thanks everybody so much, and thank you for my patience with the tech as well. It was great to be with you this morning.
Thank you very much, Kate. This has been very interesting and very inspiring. It is also very pertinent, very important, because as we all know, this topic is very, very important. This is also demonstrated in the comments that we have seen in the chat box during your presentation. And let me quote, Zbigniew is asking, and he is saying, he knows it's a provocative question, is talking about pornography, not sexualizing children. And of course, in this question, he's referring to a situation we are faced with in Poland, because when topics connected to sexuality and talking to children about sexuality and sexual education and speaking about pornography is associated with making children more sexualized. There is a lot of controversies around this topic in Poland. This is why these topics are not really brought up that often in Polish schools. And referring to the question from Mr. Zbigniew, is it also true in the UK when you talk to children about sexual contact and sexuality? Do you also hear such complaints? And if so, what to do in order to change this?
That is a very interesting question and a very controversial one as well. You're right. From a UK perspective, the UK, England in particular, has very recently introduced an updated new relationships and sex education curriculum, which all schools have to teach. It's up to schools exactly how they teach that, but they all have to do it. It did face some controversy when it was brought in. Some schools in particular, or some parents in particular, and some community groups were not in favour of it for exactly the reasons that that the contributor has outlined. Worries about sexualising children at a young age. I think that those were views that were expressed by some parents, but not many of them. And I think schools have done often a really good job of informing parents about what's going to be in their curriculum and seeking feedback and engagement from parents. And making sure that there are, there is as much sort of clarity and transparency about what they're teaching at different ages. At Childnet, our resources very much take as a starting point the experiences of young people. And so we know that young people are experiencing issues around body image, sexualization, online sexual harassment, and online pornography. That those are part of their online experiences. And so we want to support them to be safe online. And if that means talking about those difficult issues, many of which even educators may not feel that confident talking about bringing up in the classroom, we feel it's our job to make sure that we find a way for schools to introduce and tackle those issues in a way that puts young people at the heart and puts their well-being in first place.
Thank you very much for this response, and I do hope that also here we will live to see the times when such curriculum is obligatory in Polish schools. And just in order to summarize the presentation and the discussion, I'd like to quote a message from Edita. If we demonize speaking about pornography to young people, we will leave them all alone and they will look for clarification elsewhere in sources that are often not really desirable. So thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. There were also questions about your email address. So there is a lot of interest in the materials, in the content of your presentation. So I'm sure you will receive messages from people who are interested in following up and being in touch with you. Thank you.